Welcome everyone to another edition of Countdown to Game Day. I am Rich McGowan, the high school sports reporter at the Savannah Morning News, and I'm here to tell you everything you need to know before heading out to the stadium. Last week we saw South Effingham remain undefeated as the Mustangs defeated cross-county rival Effingham County 18-13. In other action, Benedictine won a shootout over Long County 63-50. Calvary Day evened its record 2-2 with a 39-20 win over Metter, and Johnson won yet again, going to 2-2 with a 24-16 victory over Jenkins. Now the calendar reads October, and that means we are finally getting into the heart of region action, and for the rest of the season, every week is going to have some very interesting games, and this week is the start of that, so let's get right to it. For the first time in 4 years, the Johnson-Adams Smashers have won 2 games in a row. Friday night, they try to make it 3 in a row in one season for the first time since 2000, when the Adams Smashers go to Garden City to face the Groves Rebels. Despite losing quarterback/receiver Jarrell Smith in the second half last week to a head injury, the Smashers still managed to come from behind for a 24-16 win over Jenkins. Now Smith is out for this week, and his status for the future is uncertain, but the way Johnson was able to come back and win last week without him could give the Smashers the confidence they need to do it again. Groves enters coming off a 34-6 loss to Bradwell Institute that saw the Rebel defensive line get pushed off the ball to the tune of 337 rushing yards for the Tigers. Offensively, the Rebels showed they can move the ball on offense when they had an 8-play, 70-yard drive that ended with a Brandon Jones touchdown pass to Ashton Andrews. But penalties, mistakes, and turnovers kept Groves from putting more points on the board. Now, the loss of Smith cannot be overstated. He is one of the area's best athletes, and defenses have to be aware of him no matter where he is on the field. Without him, I think it's fair to say that the Groves defense will be emboldened, and that could be a very tough task for the Adams Smashers. Now, if Smith was playing, this would be a tough game to call, but I think the loss of him will be too much for the young Johnson team to overcome, and that's why I like Groves to win this one, 36-24. Two teams whose offenses have some big play capability and defenses that struggle to keep points off the board meet Friday night when Savannah High travels to Windsor Forest. Now, when these two teams meet, two things are going to be for sure. One team is going to get its first win of the season, and a lot of points are likely to be put up on the scoreboard. Windsor Forest has had a tough start to this season, but the schedule has not been kind. The Knights have played state powers Valdosta and Camden County, as well as strong local teams Benedictine and Effingham County. Offensively, this is Donovan Campbell's team. The junior quarterback has over 800 yards of total offense in 4 games, but hasn't had the help from the rest of the offense that I'm sure Coach Mike Martin would have liked. Campbell needs some help if the Knights are to get their first win of the season. Savannah brings in its big play specialist, Rayshawn Leaks. The senior receiver, quarterback, running back, a little bit of everything, has over 900 yards of total offense, including 4 touchdowns of 40 yards or more, and the Knights have to be aware of him wherever he lines up on the field. Both these teams had playoff aspirations at the start of the season, but the loser of this game will be 0-2 in the region and will have a hard time recovering from that kind of hole early on. Now, this is a tough one to gauge as both teams enter in similar situations, and I don't think either one is as bad as its record indicates. In the end, I think Windsor has played some tougher opponents, and I think they're due. Also, I picked them as a playoff team, so in a pick of self-preservation, I like the Knights to win this one 36-28. To say the least, the Bryan County Redskins haven't gotten off to the start they'd hoped for, beginning the year 0-4. The Redskins begin the Region 3 Single A schedule this week when they travel to Calvary Day to face the 2-2 Cavaliers. Like the rest of his team, Redskin running back Ivy Munchison got off to a slow start this season, but in the last 2 games has rushed for a combined 240 yards. But if the Redskins still hope to make the playoffs for a 3rd straight year, the defense has to improve. The Redskins are averaging more than 350 yards against through 4 games, and in last week's 51-26 loss to Wilcox County, they gave up 283 yards and 6 touchdowns through the air. Look for Calvary Day to try to exploit the Redskins secondary with quarterback Seth Stroud. Stroud has completed 26 of 55 passes for close to 400 yards. Many of those completions have been to wideout Dom DeMasi, forming one of the better pass-receiver combinations in the area. The duo has helped the Cavaliers to a 2-2 start after consecutive 1-win seasons the last 2 years. Now both teams have home run hitters capable of breaking big plays on any given snap, so this one will be decided by whichever team's defense doesn't give up the big play. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Bryan County's defense to do that, and that's why I'm picking Calvary 28-14. Now, on to the game of the week, where on Saturday night at Garden City Stadium, Savannah Christian kicks off its region schedule when it hosts the surprisingly 3-1 Claxton Tigers. Savannah Christian also enters with a 3-1 record and is coming off a 21-7 victory 2 weeks ago over Jenkins. In that game, junior running back Chris Barno had his biggest game of the season. He ran the ball 27 times for 172 yards and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, so far this year, the Raider defenders have been their usual stellar selves. In their 3 victories, the Raider defenders have surrendered just 13 points, including a shutout, but they'll have their hands full trying to stop the Tiger running game. Claxton is led by senior Fellis Grant. The 5'8", 180-pounder is second in rushing throughout the Coastal Empire with 560 yards on 113 carries with 8 touchdowns in only 4 games. I went out to Savannah Christian this week to ask Coach Donald Chumley what the Raiders have to do to stop Grant and the importance of this, the first region game.
Well, he's a complete back. He runs hard. They've got a huge offensive line to run behind. They're by far next to ECI. They're the best football team we've seen to this time. So we've got a work cut out for us. If you emphasize him too much, then they got other guys that can beat you as well. Every game's like a playoff game. You definitely want to be at home. You want to make the playoffs, and you definitely want to try to play at home in the first round. Every game is a playoff game. Claxton's coming in. They've got their best team that I believe that they've had in years, and it's going to be a war. It's going to be a war between 2 good football teams.
Considering Claxton has won 2 games or less in each of the last 5 seasons, its 3-1 record is impressive and an indication that the Tigers are on to something. But they have yet to face anyone as tough as Savannah Christian, the number 10 ranked team in Class Single A. In the end, I think the Raiders will be able to control the ball, and that will help contain Grant, and I like the Raiders 27-14. Thanks very much for watching. Be sure to check back right here next week to savannahnow.com/prepcentral for another edition of Countdown to Game Day. For the Savannah Morning News, I'm Rich McGowan. See you next week.